Hello everyone, I am Kiran and today we are going to learn about the testing technique which is state transition diagram technique. So we have so far seen equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis, decision table testing, and today we will see state transition diagram. So what it is related to. So here when there are different states and transition between any scenario, in those cases we have to apply the state transition testing technique. In this technique, the system will help us understand the behavior of the application on different input conditions. So what we do here, let's understand few terminologies before understanding this concept. So the four terminologies are state, transition, events and actions. So to understand these, let's look at a diagram that will make it more clear. Here you can see a diagram. So let's consider a scenario where it is an ATM application, and if you try to input your wrong pin thrice, you will be blocked of the system. That is the scenario. That in an ATM you are allowed to put only wrong pin 2 times. If you put the wrong pin thrice, you will be blocked. Okay, so start is a state. Okay, first try is yet another state, second try is yet another state, third try is yet another state, and access granted and account blocked. These are all states where the system lies in a particular static condition, and the movement, the arrows which you see are the transition. So going back to the previous slide, we'll understand all these four terminologies now. States are the static condition that the software might get into. Transition is movement from one state to another state. Okay, so let's say we start, we give it a first try, and if the pin is correct, we'll get the access. We will get the access to our bank account. If the pin is incorrect in the first try, we will be given the second try. Okay, so there is a change in the state from start to first try, and now from the first try, if you have given a wrong input, there is a change in the state which is movement to the second try, and but if you have given the right pin, there is yet another change in the state, that is you are allowed to access your account. Now let's say you have already reached to the second try, and now you are triggering some event. So doing some, you're triggering some event, and then you perform some action. So there are 4 terms as we saw going back. State is the state where the application is. Transition is the movement. Actions are the result sets which happened after the transition, and events are based on your previous values. So let's say you have applied the wrong pin, so that has the event has occurred, due to which you're doing another transition, and then an action will be happening. So that's the meaning of these 4 terms in state transition diagram. So we'll go back to the diagram and see. In the second try, you put in the right password or the pin, you will be assigned the access, you'll be granted the access. The second try is the state, and when you are giving the correct pin, so correct pin, you will be given the access, so you are granted. And if you're giving the wrong pin, incorrect pin, in that case you'll again get a third try. So you reach to the third try state, and from the third try state, if you're giving the right pin, then you again get the access, but then also you're giving the wrong pin, then your account will be blocked. So basically you're reaching to the account block state by only one event, which is applying incorrect pin at the third try, right? And you're reaching to the access granted state by applying, from state 1, 2 and 3. From 3 states you can reach there. So that's how you are able to find out all states, all transitions, all the events, and the final actions. So that is the beauty of this state transition diagram testing technique, wherein you can either represent it in a pictorial format of the state and transitions or tabular format. The I'm trying to understand the tabular format now. So what happens, there are states, S1 which is start, S2 first attempt, S3 second attempt, S4 third attempt, S5 access granted, and S6 is account blocked, right? So what happens when you apply different conditions, which is correct pin and incorrect pin. So in the first attempt, if you are giving the correct pin, you will reach to the state S5, which is the access granted. And if you're giving the incorrect pin, anyways, you're going to the second try, which is S3. So here again in the S3, if you're giving the correct pin, you reach to the S5. If you're giving wrong pin, you reach to S4. In the S4, if you're giving the correct pin, you'll reach to S5. If you're giving the wrong pin, you'll reach to S6. And anyways, there is no correct pin after access granted or access denied. So these are all blanks. So this is how you represent your scenario in either a pictorial format or in a tabular format, so that all the data is tested. There is no combination which is left here. So here are different inputs which is leading you to different states. So in these kind of situation, you will be applying state transition diagram. So when to use state transition? This can be used when a tester is testing the application for a finite set of input values. Yes, we have to make sure that this is not going infinite, because in that case this whole diagram won't be helpful. So we should know that there is only finite set of input values, then we should use this diagram, this technique. And there is a sequence of events happening one after the other. So in such situations where there is one event which is leading to another event, so one after the other which is linked to each other, in such cases you will be applying this technique. And also where there is a dependency like of the previous events or values. So what happened previously is actually leading to the next set of actions. So in these kind of situations, you will be using state transitions. So today we learned about state transition, what it is. We learned the 4 terminologies: state, transitions, event, and actions. We learned when to use this state transition diagram technique. We learned about the actual diagram pictorial representation, and we took an example of an ATM, and we also saw the tabular format. Now we have to see the advantages and quick disadvantages for this technique. Now the advantages are very quick, that it provides you a pictorial and tabular representation of the system behavior, and it is easy to understand. And also this technique, testers can verify all the conditions are covered or not. But in case of disadvantages, as I said, you have to see that it doesn't go infinite. So you have to make sure there is a finite number of events happening. That is one disadvantage which you have to make sure. Also this system or this technique is helpful only in case of smaller projects. If it is a huge scenario and it just goes on and on and on, so the events will be growing and it will be very difficult to maintain the diagram or the table. So we have to make sure that the system which we are testing is small. It should not be big, and so that it grows exponentially and you're not able to actually draw. So these are the disadvantages of state transition and advantages of state transition 2. So that's all from my side today. We'll learn more in the next coming sessions. Thank you for now.